Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face. Our guest this week is award-winning photographer Nadya Kwandibens. Nadya is an Anishinaabe from the Anamaki Wajing No. 37 First Nation, formerly known as Northwest Angle No. 37 in northwestern Ontario. She founded Redworks Photography in 2008 and has traveled Turtle Island for her work. Earlier this year, Nadya was named the Photo Laureate for the City of Toronto. Nadya, thanks so much for being with us this week on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. You know, you're a bit of a rock star in the world of photography, I would say. When did you first know that photography was something, though, that you had an interest in?
Oh, wow. I was studying film production in Thunder Bay at the time. Although I didn't finish the program, photography just really stuck with me. And I think overall I've always been an artistic, creative person. I've always let, creativity sort of be my means of expression as a way to cope through some of the things that I've been through in my life. But yeah, it wasn't until after that program that photography stuck as a hobby for a number of years. And then eventually I moved to Arizona, actually. And that's where it really just became a passion, and I started doing portrait work from there, and it's been quite a journey, quite a journey actually. When I think back on my life and where it's taken me all across Turtle Island, I'm just really honored and humbled that I get to call myself an artist and a storyteller.
Nice stuff. That was a pretty good film class course they used to have there at Confederation College.
Oh, you went there too?
No, I didn't, but I knew a lot of friends who've gone through there. It's a shame that it doesn't exist anymore. You said you were doing it as a hobby. When did you think you could start making a career out of it? I was still living in Arizona for a while, and I got an invitation to be in this group exhibit it was in Boulder, Colorado. And that was the first show exhibition that I ever been a part of. But that sort of led me into creating an artist statement about my work and what it meant to me overall. I began my practice, and I realized how important photography could be in amplifying Indigenous stories and our realities, because at the time I felt that the imagery and portrayal of Indigenous peoples in mainstream media wasn't in a positive light. So that's why I started the work that I do. It was from that first exhibition, and it's really snowballed from there. It's just grown. It keeps growing and growing, and the different opportunities that have come up because of it is really meaningful for me. I realized that holding all these stories through photography comes with a great responsibility, so I don't take that lightly. You know, the cliche is that a photo is worth 1,000 words. How do you think one photo can tell a story, or one exhibit can tell a story?
It can evoke so many emotions. So many emotions. Joy, joy, happiness, pride. That's the main reason why I do. That's the main reason why I do what I do, is I want to share because our people are so vibrant, so beautiful, and there's so many nations, you know what I mean? So it's just so, I have to pinch myself sometimes that, I've lived the life that I've lived so far, and the choices that I've made have, led me here, so I'm just really honored.
Like I said, rock star photographer of the photography world. Your website has this vision statement on it, which is really great, about how, Indigenous peoples are portrayed in places like museums and stuff like that as once stoic, or in the media as troubled. How does your work look to steer all that in a different direction?
That's the artist statement that I penned for that first group exhibit that I was in. Mm-hmm. And I remember writing it and wanting that to be the foundation upon which I approach all of my work, and or any sort of facet of my creativity is always to amplify our voices and let our faces and our nations and our experiences, our gatherings, our powwows, everything, let it all be seen in a more positive light. That's really the basis. It's always in the back of my mind. And like I mentioned, all the different opportunities coming that are quite significant. That's where I draw my inspiration from. And there's been many times where I almost gave up. It was, struggling artist years. There were a number of times where I almost gave up, and that, when I go back to that artist statement, it just reinvigorates and rejuvenates my creative spirit. And physically, my work can be quite demanding, and I'm often left quite exhausted after, touring. I toured for, I think, about 14, 15 years. I would be on the road 9 months out of the year. So that artist statement really is a source of inspiration and love for me.
We got much more to talk about, including some of your many exhibits that you do, Nadya. We're just going to take a quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here on Face to Face. Stick around. Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is Nadya, a photographer who I won't mention the rock star part anymore then, so we don't throw you off there. But we were talking about how you were trying to break down stereotypes and stuff. You've had an ongoing series called Concrete Indians. Can you tell us about that and how that works with your vision statement?
Concrete Indians, I started that soon after I moved back to Canada from Arizona. I had a roommate at the time, and we got this nice place, and I had just come off touring for a while, and I was exhausted, and then I sort of felt that I was doing a lot of work for so many organizations, different people wanting portrait sessions, like you name it, right? And I wanted something that sort of speak to how I felt and what I was going through. And a thought struck me, and I was like, what would it mean, or what would a self-portrait, if I asked myself the question, what does it mean to live as an Indigenous person living in urban centers? Does that take away from where my own understanding of myself? Does that take away from, is my sense of my culture, my values, my traditions, is it somehow diminished if I live in the city? And I started the series as a question about that. And I penned this mass email. I was sitting on the couch, I was exhausted, and I wanted, I had all these questions, and I was, so I penned this email and I sent it out to a number of friends. It was a mass email. And asking these questions: how do you feel living in the city? What does it, how do you feel? right? And what would a portrait of those emotions, what you're going through, what would that look like? So essentially, it's become a series that focuses on decolonization and sort of an exploration of, you know, different, like where you come from, different cultures, right? So that's ultimately what it's about. It's about decolonization and exploring who you are and holding on to those beliefs and holding on to your culture, and to have a resulting portrait turn out as they have has been really powerful, powerful work. So I think that series really resonated with a lot of people, and by then many had already seen my work or were familiar with my style of shooting. You know, they're familiar with my work, and that at time I had not yet formed or launched Redworks. The Concrete Indians came before I officially, you know, say Redworks. This is what my work is. This is what I'm calling my work, right? So Concrete Indians came before that, and I've been all over. It's an ongoing open call series. So, yeah, anyone who wants to take part.
What is the reaction from people, you know, that are just around when you're taking this photo? Because it's kind of, you know, like an action shot where you must like just show up and arrive and start taking photos, and you got to do it pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, a lot of portrait subject. I don't like using the word subjects. Right. A lot of those photographed. Sometimes or often in like full or partial regalia, or there's, you know, a drum, or, you know, something that speaks to, you know, who they are, where they come from, how they identify, and then we're standing at the middle of, like, say, an intersection, or in the subway, the TTC in Toronto. And I shot one of them during rush hour at the Spadina station at the TTC, and it was crazy because all these people, they just want to get home, right? And here we have, you know, a friend of mine. She wanted to do hers in full jingle dress regalia with all her eagle plumes and fan, you know, full regalia. And some people would stop and be like, what's going on? And they would pull out their cell phones and try and get, you know, photos, selfies and that. And meanwhile, here I am just trying to get the shot, right? So you know, when my sessions get interrupted, sometimes I don't mind it because there's an interest. Right. There's an interest in what I'm doing and what's going on, right? So, there's natives in the subway with cameras and
the regalia on what's happening.
What's going on here?
You know, I think
so
a lot of
it's actually a point of where you know they have questions, and you know I share what's going on, and you know people learn. I think people learn a tiny bit of what we're about through some of these sessions.
I think a lot of people would also be familiar with the Red Chair sessions. Can you talk to us, tell us a bit about that series as well?
Yeah, that series I started in 2019, but the initial idea for it came during Canada 150. The initial idea being that the Red Chair represents our connection as Indigenous peoples, represents our bloodline, our ancestors. And each chair is different, but that being seated firmly and grounded on the land through, you know, the chair, right? It's just, it becomes a sort of, I guess, sort of metaphor, you know, sort of like the chair represents this. It's our bloodline and our connection to the land. And I thought it was really it came, like a lot of my portrait ideas, they just come out of nowhere. And sometimes I sort of log them in the back of my head and they're still there. And then they come out when the timing is right. I always say timing is everything, and it really is. So when it came time, it was when the series launched. It picked up right away. So many people wanted to be photographed for it, and like Concrete Indians, it is really resonating, and it's an ongoing series as well. So I'm still shooting for it. It's had 2 solo shows so far in Kenora at Lake of the Woods Museum, and Thunder Bay. It was at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery, and in October it will be at the Peel Art Gallery in Brampton. It opens on the 21st, I believe, in Brampton.
Awesome.
And then it will continue on from there. So it is currently on tour.
Nice. More of your work that we want to talk about, and being named the photo laureate. We just have to step aside for one more quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here with award-winning photographer Nadya Kwandibens. Stick around. Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is photographer Nadya Kwandibens. And Nadya, I wanted to mention, I mentioned it right before the break there, but you've been appointed as the photo laureate for the city of Toronto, the only city that really does this, and obviously the first Indigenous person to hold this title. What does that mean to you?
Whew. It's I mentioned before, it's really, I have to pinch myself at some of these opportunities that have come. Also being a Canada ambassador as well, and then these different opportunities that come. It's being photo laureate for me comes with, again, this huge responsibility. As photo laureate, I'm an ambassador for the visual arts and, of course, photographers and photography in the city. So for me, it means being able to open dialogues or create and continue dialogues with the community at large, the city at large, and connecting with different artists in the city as well, and just exploring all the different intersections that could happen there, and learning about different artistic practices, and just being able to contribute to current issues and important issues in the city as well. So being I guess, sort of conduit for those opportunities and dialogues to happen is really meaningful. It's a 3-year term. So at the end of my term, I will have developed also a legacy project for the city. Definitely, I'm not sure what that's going to look like yet. For some reason, I'm really interested in exploring, of course, portraiture and somehow incorporating copper. I don't know why that's somehow sticking in my head, but we'll see what sort of more ideas that come up, surface in the depths of my mind.
Yeah. In addition to some of the exhibits and projects that we talked about, you've also done work with like murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls, the child welfare system. Are those pretty close to you, those types of projects?
Yes, I was part of a group group of lawyers and artists collective called Testify. They paired artists with legal thinkers to create works of art that speak to Indigenous laws. So I got partnered with someone who wanted to explore what the foster care system. So I grew up in the foster care system from I think I was 2 years old till about 16 or 17, and to me that was really important. My work in it was a traveling exhibit as well. We toured a few different galleries. My piece in that show was a triptych, a video triptych. And I layered different sort of imagery of, children and moving landscapes, and it was just this really real flow of emotion and experience and what it might feel like having to move constantly. Don't remember how many different homes I was in. But that piece for me was really healing. It was really, I was able to express how it felt for me visually through this triptych. So I want to maybe somehow put it online for people to see, because I thought it was quite powerful, and just to be able to, and then it starts off and then it ends on a positive note. Culture does save lives. That's the sort of underlying theme of my piece. So I ended it off in this vibrant, beautiful colorful portraits and, moving portraits of kids and different, it was just, I'm really proud of that. I actually should put it online. I want, people to see, that you can survive such a system. Yeah.
Well, if you put it online, let us know, because I was looking for it and I couldn't find it myself. We're short on time here, but I do want to ask, as somebody who's overcome those types of challenges and maybe got into photography a little later in life, you do a lot of speaking to youth and schools and stuff. What advice would you have for those out there looking to get into this field? I recently watched a documentary on Annie Leibovitz, and I just loved her approach to what she does. And for me, and just drawing on that sort of approach to her work, just shoot, just get out there, hold the camera, whether it's your cell phone. Cell phones these days are crazy, like high res stuff, right? Just get out there and share your vision, share your experience, document your life, I've always been the go-getter type. I'm never afraid to just go out and just do it. Just get out there and do it. That's pretty awesome advice. Well, Nadya, we appreciate you taking some time to join us here on the show.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Thanks so much. That is all the time we have for the show this week. You can watch any episodes you may have missed over the past 10 seasons over on our website, aptnnews.ca. This episode and all of our previous episodes are also available as podcasts, and you can download those wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy, thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here next Tuesday for more Face to Face.